It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
Ooh, it's going to be a show today, isn't it? It's going to be a show today. Arkansas transfer extravaganza. It's been so much it's been difficult to keep up with. We had to run the show at 1:20 today just because I kept having to push things back because things kept happening. Yesterday it was all afternoon news. This day it was all morning stuff. Big day for the secondary for Arkansas. We're going to talk about everything that's happened, some of the stuff that's coming up. It's just going to be me and you. I can't take Danny away from what he's doing right now. So if you want to read all of that stuff, what he's got going on at HawgSports, go to HawgSports.com. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff right here today. We're going to get to your questions as well. All that more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. If you thought Monday's show was scattered, just wait till you get a load of this one. We're going to be a little all over the place. There may be news that breaks right in the middle of it, the way things are going. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Crain Automotive, our title sponsor. The Crain Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. The Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology if you're not in the market for a new vehicle, and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team. Woo!
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
I hope you Razorback fans feel like champions right now. I hope you do, because we don't have a lot to celebrate, but things have gone really well, in my opinion, in the transfer portal so far. Arkansas getting guys, a lot of guys that were maybe really highly regarded as recruits, guys that haven't really burst onto the scene yet, guys that have had really good college careers so far, some guys that weren't highly regarded as a recruit but have had really good productive careers. A lot of guys I see that have played as a true freshman at the school that they came from, and more on the way. I've got him right now at 21 commitments. There's a high school commit I haven't even looked at yet, but 21 transfer portal commitments. That is one of the tops in the country. I'd love to sit here and talk about Arkansas's win over Ole Miss last night, 94-87. Darius Acuff, what do you have, 26-9? Trevin Brazil. I mean, I'd love to talk about that a lot. We just don't have time. We've got plenty of content you can read at HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com, but a nice win on the road. Arkansas opened up 2-0 in conference play at Auburn next. That's Saturday at 5 o'clock in Auburn, Alabama. That one's going to be on ESPN. But, yeah, it was a fun game to watch last night. The championship game, semifinal games are tonight. Oregon, Indiana, that's at 6:30 tonight. And then you've got Ole Miss and Miami. Or excuse me, I've got that backwards. Ole Miss and Miami tonight, and then Oregon, Indiana tomorrow. So the Ole Miss, Miami is at 6:30, and then Oregon, Indiana is also at 6:30. Both of those are on ESPN, and then all kinds of sky cams and all that kind of crap that really isn't that good. I don't know why they keep doing that, but like the secondary crew on the side, I caught myself on watching a game like that, and I was like, what is going on? Why is Pat McAfee talking so long? Nothing against Pat McAfee, but it's just not as good. Anyway, that's enough of that. All right, let's see where Arkansas, I'm going to refresh this real quick, but because the portal rankings, which again, whatever, they're okay. If they're highly regarded, then that's usually accurate, but like there's so many guys that are like I don't know that we should be having like 38 safeties tied for the 24th best safety because they're all in 86, So it's kind of hard to judge on the transfer portal rankings. But Arkansas, for those who that matters to, is 15th right now in the transfer portal rankings. They have 21 commitments, which I believe is way up there. I know it's way up there. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth in the country right now, tied for fifth in the country with Wisconsin and Colorado for the highest number of transfer portal additions. Arkansas is right now 8th in the SEC in transfer portal ranking, so right there in the middle of the pack. And as far as commitments goes, they are number 1. Tennessee's only got 3. What are you doing, Tennessee? What is going on over there? I know they've got a lot of players to add. I'm going to go through basically all the guys that they've added so far, okay? So we're going to talk about all that. A lot of cornerbacks today, a lot of cornerbacks. Braden Lee, very recent one. They got some guys that are younger, that were highly regarded, that, maybe haven't played a whole lot, but they've also got some guys, again, as I was saying, that are very much more highly regarded. Like Tyler Scott's an example. Like Tyler Scott was a 4-star big-time recruit, could have gone pretty much anywhere in the country, signed with Auburn out of high school, played 4 games as a true freshman before 2024, tore his ACL, and then basically just kind of left Auburn and went to Georgia State. There was some kind of altercation with a suspension, didn't play much last year, but he's a guy that you would think has really high upside, a guy that can play cornerback or nickel. And then they got Braden Lee, who's out of Maryland, went to Maryland, a 4-star prospect, ton of offers, was once committed to South Carolina before committing to Maryland. But he's another guy that, has played. He played in 11 games last year. I don't mean he hadn't played at all, but a guy that has a lot of upside. Then you've got some other guys that like Lakai Rowland, who's a big-time kid out of Maryland. This guy's for real. Joker Johnson, guys that have played a lot of football already, maybe weren't super highly regarded recruits, but guys that got to college. And, next thing you know, Lakai Rowland, if you pay attention to the PFF stuff, some people do, Pro Football Focus, some people, I hear coaches kind of mocking it a little bit, behind the scenes, not just Arkansas, but, a lot of other places. But some people, it's fun to look at Pro Football Focus, but Pro Football Focus has this guy, number 3 ranked cornerback in the country, grading out. For some reason, he's only an 86. 86 seems to be a very popular rating on our ranking system for transfers. There is a ton of people that are an 86. A 90 is going to get you 4-star status, which Jaheim Johnson is, but a lot of guys are 86. Like I was looking the other day, as I mentioned, I was like, okay, he's ranked 32 at his position, but the guy that's ranked 24th is also an 86. How many guys are an 86? 38. I want to see a little bit more discrepancy there. So you can keep up with everything at our transfer portal headquarters. I have compiled everything by date of what's going on. We've got the visit list. We've got the transfer portal, the guys that have left the transfer portal, all of that stuff for you at HawgSports. The latest headlines have been Arkansas landed Tyler Scott out of Georgia State, formerly of Auburn. And obviously there's going to be a connection with Georgia State with Darren Wilson, who was defensive coordinator there for a moment there. I assume that he probably recruited him from Auburn there. And then Ron Roberts, who would have recruited him to Auburn initially. Braden Lee, who we talked about, the Maryland. He's a rising redshirt sophomore, be a redshirt sophomore next year. Phoenix Jackson is a guy that I actually really like. He was at Baylor last year. He started his career at Fresno State. He was a no-name at Fresno State. Just looking at his video, you can tell maybe 6 foot at the most, not super tall, very explosive, very powerful. This is a guy that had 4 sacks, not coming off the edge, like playing middle or weak side linebacker, coming up the gap. Like he can really explode, but he committed to Washington State. I don't know what happened there, something about an academic eligibility, something with Washington State. I don't know, schools do things differently. Anyway, kind of fell in Arkansas's lap that way. But Phoenix Jackson is on board. Matt Adcock, who's a tight end. They needed a tight end from Memphis, had only 12 catches last year. 3 of them went for touchdowns. He was at junior college before that. Also a really good baseball player. Lakai Rowland is a nice addition, as I mentioned before. This guy is really highly regarded. And we'll go back Wednesday. You had Adam Hawks late last night, the transfer out of Oregon State. Charlie Collins announced that he would be returning to Arkansas. Collins announced that he was entering the portal. He never entered the portal because I went to check to see if he had done that, but he never entered the portal. And then you've got Steven Souls, who I really like, edge rusher out of Kentucky, a younger guy. He'll be a junior next year, so he'll have a couple years of eligibility left. But this guy can really come off the edge, very aggressive player. Kamori House, North Carolina linebacker, weak side type of linebacker, athletic. I would even put this guy at safety or nickel if I wanted to. I mean, he can cover I like Kamori House a lot. I believe he is also a 4-star, one of Arkansas's 4-star transfers. You had Jaden Platt signing with Arkansas, who never really said he was leaving, but he signed. Shelton Lewis out of Clemson. That's an interesting one. He started games as a as a true freshman. He started at Clemson and played a backup role the last couple of years. He had some injuries. I know it's listed like he had some lower body injuries. I don't know if that played into him. I'm not a big fan of self-redshirting, like playing 4 games and like, hey, I'm going to redshirt and enter the transfer portal mid-season. But I also don't know everything that happened here. But on the surface, I've never been a fan of that. But he's a guy that can play. Comes from Clemson. Started as a freshman a couple games for them there, and has played, in a backup role for most of the time. Jamonte Waller is also another guy that has a lot of potential. Waller had a foot injury, so he played as a freshman at Auburn. This was a 4-star, big-time, addition for them, a guy that they were really excited about, had a lot of options out there, kind of in that 6'1", 6-foot mold, but 250 edge, outside linebacker type of guy. It fits really well in this type of defense. Obviously had some experience with Ron Roberts from when he was at Auburn, but this is a guy that was really highly regarded, had a foot injury during the season ahead of, when was it? I can't remember exactly when that was, but had a foot injury. And then, they got a new position coach, new defensive staff, new position coach, and he wasn't able to go through the spring and kind of fell behind some guys. Of course, the starter is going to be a 1st or 2nd round draft pick. And then his younger brother's also, really good and plays for Auburn also. But, he just kind of got lost in the shuffle because of that and ended up looking for a fresh start. Okay. Sounds good to me. I'm going to go over some of those guys more in depth, but I would like to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. If you have not checked out their new location at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers, Arkansas, 72758, you should. You should absolutely check them out. It is probably the finest jewelry store in the region, not just the state of Arkansas. Go check them out. Did you also know that you can shop them online? They have everything broken down into categories. You can also schedule an appointment online. They do delivery. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. So visit them at their brand new location. Also, the official jeweler of the Arkansas Razorbacks. So know that Ben Blakeman and his gang over there really support the Hogs and are very involved in the community. Good people over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. Where do we want to go? I mean, there's so many places we could go. Scholarship distribution. Let's talk about the numbers, okay? The numbers are getting better. I've got him with this high school commit, I guess that would be 76 right now. So 76. So we're looking at remember the number is about 90. It's not 105. SEC teams are kind of angling towards that 90 number. So about 14 more guys. And nobody's entered the transfer portal in several days. They still could, but nobody has done that. So if nobody else enters the transfer portal, I've got him at 14. It's very possible that number's not totally accurate. Like, for example, like a guy could, Andreas Poshka, for example. Okay, Andreas Poshka, is he going to take the medical red shirt that's available to him, and come back for another year because he has that available if he wants? So there's could be some discrepancy, but this is roughly right. This is based on guys who've said they're coming back, guys who have said nothing at all, guys who signed with Arkansas, and guys who are coming to Arkansas. 76 right now. Okay, lot safer number. I'll tell you what, man. After that first day, I was like, holy crap. I was expecting a windfall. Where are all the commitments? What's going on? Carius Kern going to Ole Miss. This is a disaster. Everybody was just flipping out, losing their mind. That's changed, hasn't it? You don't see as many people complaining about what they're doing. In fact, people kind of changing their opinion. And guys, I got to say this too, with Ryan Silverfield, let's be real. There's a lot of shock when Ryan Silverfield was announced as coach. The first thing he did was lock down some of the top players inside the state of Arkansas that looked like they were headed elsewhere. I'm talking 4-star guys. Announced KJ Jackson and Quincy Rhodes. Nice big additions for them coming back. And ever since then has assembled a staff that I felt pretty good about. Like, some people, I think they have in their mind that everybody's got to be a 4-star and everybody has to be the best position coach at this school and that school and that school. I think they've done a pretty good job assembling this. I think they've done a good job with their personnel department so far. I think they've done Geiska Crowley. I've been very impressed with them. Like, you think, like, we're going 150 miles an hour. What do you think this coaching staff is going to do? And they've had a month to kind of plan and organize and put all this stuff together. And I was worried too, because like there will be a school or two out there that thinks they've got everything in order. They think they've got their guys. They think they've got it in order. And they're going to be in trouble because this is the window. You've got this window to put your roster together. And if you don't, you're not going to have a good roster. There's no spring portal window. Somebody's going to get messed up on this, thinking they know what they're doing or not being aggressive enough and get left out in the cold. And it doesn't look like that's going to be Arkansas right now. So we can talk about the players that they've added so far. Is this guy good or is that guy good? He's not good enough. He's not a 4-star, all this stuff. This secondary is dramatically better looking than it was last year already. And they still got some guys to add. And if they get one of the guys I think they're going to get, I'll really like that too. So, linebacker core, adding depth, some more work to do on the defensive line. But, no, they didn't go out and get a starter from Alabama on the defensive line, but they got a young backup who was a 4-star recruit out of USC. They got a young backup who was at Alabama originally and transferred to Virginia and was a key player for them last year. I mean, like, they're getting some guys with some upside. Like, nothing against, like, some of the guys that Arkansas has had on the defensive line, but who have been undersized and have since transferred out. But, like, it's better. Now, the schedule's tough. They got to get some work. They got to figure out things at quarterback. There's some things that are going to stand in their way. I'm not going in expecting them to even have a winning season, but I feel a lot better about the direction of the program with what they've done so far. And one of the things that we were going to ask ourselves, right, we knew that they spent $2 million more on this assistant coaching salary pool, which was a positive sign for finances, but we really didn't have anything else to look at to verify that Arkansas has more money until this transfer portal comes around. And you do not get some of the guys that they're getting without spending a lot of money. Yeah, there are some guys that, the way this kind of works, like, if you're a recruit outside of quarterback, you're a 4-star, you're looking probably somewhere around $150,000 as a recruit, maybe more in some positions. Like if you're really, really coveted and really wanted. If you're a second-year player who hasn't really proven themselves yet, but has some upsides, there's positives of you. We're talking 150, 200,000, and I should also say, like, 3-star recruit, you're probably talking somewhere in the range, maybe 50,000 or so. But for these guys that are like, promising type of young players that, haven't started yet, haven't really made themselves too deep, you want to keep on the roster, 150, 200,000. Some of these quarterbacks are, 700,000 for some of these backup types, million, $2.5 million, $5 million, depending on the tier of quarterback. That's probably the biggest range gap. A guy like Quincy Rhodes at defensive end, over $1 million. Over $1 million for a guy like Quincy Rhodes. So this is the kind of money that it's taken to bring in these kinds of guys. Some of these cornerbacks, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 6, 7, 800,000. Like, so money is getting spent on this roster. There's no doubt about it that they have money to spend at this point. Now, not everybody that they get is also going to be a star. They've got to fill out this roster. You do not want to go out and get 90 studs. Like, that's not how it's going to work. You need to focus on getting about 50 studs, and filling out your roster beyond that. I think they've done a good job so far. I really do. Now, is this the kind of roster that's going to go out and get you to the college football playoff? Probably not. I mean, a lot depends on the quarterback situation. Is it a roster that's going to elevate Arkansas significantly? I think so. Sometimes there's hiccups in year one. Sometimes there's growing pains with your roster in year one. That kind of stuff happens. But as for the future, I'm not so much focused really on what the record is in 2026 as I am 27, 28, where things are headed that way. And things, there's other things at play. In-game management, as we know, in-game management, developing that right culture with your program, all of that stuff, getting those kinds of pieces. as far as personnel goes, I like a lot of the things that they have done so far. And if you don't like the things that they've done, I think your expectations are probably a little bit too high. Not that you shouldn't have high expectations. I'm just saying, like, you got to be realistic too. We hear so many people say, I'm a realist, which really means like, I'm about to say something negative. But I've been trying to remain positive, and I've talked myself into remaining positive. I hope the audio is syncing up good. I've been using this thing right here. I got a replacement, and ever since I've used this, it just hasn't, the audio's been off. So I'm using something else, and I hope it's not just terrible. Let me know in the comments if the audio's off sync again. It's been that way the last couple of shows. So anyway, yeah. Hey, Bet Saracen, if you use the promo code BIDDY250, capital BIDDY 250, use that promo code and you sign up at Bet Saracen, you put $25 on your first bet, you're going to get $250 back in bonus money to spend to bet on Bet Saracen. $250. Pretty good deal. We usually do the wager wagon, but the game's not until Saturday. So go to Bet Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. Use that. You can click the link below if you're on YouTube, or just make sure you enter that promo code, capital BIDD, capital B, lowercase IDDY, 250. $25 your first bet when you sign up, and you will get $250 in bonuses.
What can you say about Super Sid? He's one of Arkansas's all-time greats and still cares about the little guys.
What I like the most about Bet Saracen is the ability to make bets during the game.
How about this special offer from Bet Saracen?
Brand new players get a 100% profit boost just for downloading the Bet Saracen app.
I always played Bet Saracen out on the trail.
I always play Bet Saracen out on the trail. You got to play it in Arkansas, though. The trail needs to be in Arkansas. I was in Memphis in the Liberty Bowl a couple years ago when they were playing Kansas, and I was trying to make a bet. And, just being in Memphis, it wouldn't allow me to do it. So got to be in Arkansas. Arkansas's #1 sports betting app, Bet Saracen. What now? Okay, where are we? What happened? Did I just black out? Okay, we got rapid reaction. Some of the things we're doing at HawgSports, we're organizing everything in visit list by date, visit list by position. We're doing rapid reaction. So I'm going through, like, asking people that I know, like, at other schools and stuff like that. What can you tell me about this guy? Watching video of the guy, looking at his stats, looking at his background, finding out everything. And we'll do rapid reaction. Our opinions, mine and Danny West and Kevin Bohannon's chimed in here too, here and there, on the guy that they have added. And I'm going to go through some rapid reaction myself on each of these guys here before we get done. The latest commitment here is an offensive lineman who's committed to Memphis. His name is Kerry Clayton, 6'3", 270 out of South Lake Carroll. So he is so far the only Memphis signee that has flipped to Arkansas. Arkansas did offer this kid, apparently. Not super highly rated as you would imagine, coming in from Memphis, coming in from committed to Memphis from Texas, 260 ranked overall prospect in the state of Texas. So, but a guy that they apparently like, they wouldn't have brought him over. It's not like they're bringing over all their commitments from Memphis. They haven't brought over any, have they? Maybe one before this, maybe a wide receiver or something. Am I going too fast for you? Okay. All right, I want to go through and look at this. We got some questions developing. Yes, we got questions developing. Okay, so as I said, this is just kind of a few takes from what I've learned, just from our rapid reaction pieces that we've done. Phoenix Jackson, the kid out of Fresno who went to Baylor last year, but was hurt, obviously. Kind of a no-name recruit, 49 tackles, 4 sacks. Again, that's what jumps out to me at at Fresno. 4 sacks coming right up the gut. Like, not coming off the edge, but blitzing. That's impressive. Had 2 interceptions in 2024. One of those, which I watched, was an 89-yard pick six against Hawaii. 6 foot 223, true inside linebacker. Some of the guys that they've gotten so far have been more like, edge guys, but he's definitely more of an inside guy. Not all of them. I mean, House would be kind of a weak side type of linebacker. Lakai Rowland, this is a really nice get. So Lakai Rowland, as I mentioned, his PFF grade, if you want to, I mean, it's got some useful stuff. The thing with PFF, there's just so many people doing it. Every single game, every single player is getting graded. Like, that's a lot to take on, so you can expect a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of quite a wide range, but 86.4 grade, third best in the country. He allowed the lowest passer rating in the country when targeted at 14, a 14 passer rating. I always like when guys play as a true freshman. He played in 6 games and started against Oregon as a freshman. But this guy's a really nice, 6'2", 196, nice addition. Arkansas beat out Ohio State, Georgia Tech, and some others. But he has signed with Arkansas now. I like this kid a lot. Lakai Rowland, I think he's probably a good bet to start for Arkansas. We talked about Steven Souls Jr. a little bit. He was a backup edge guy. He'll fit into that jack type of position, 6'2", 235. That's a pretty common size. You tend to see guys go from about 6 foot to 6'4", 235 to 260, usually not much bigger than that. Again, these guys' focus is pass rushing. So you'll have that, hybrid odd front. You'll have those 3 defensive linemen, a D tackle, the 4-eye defensive end, defensive tackle, and opposite that defensive end, you'll have the jack, who, kind of a stand-up guy. Sometimes you'll see Arkansas also do the 2 defensive linemen. I mean, it's basically a 4-man front, but 2 defensive linemen and 2 stand-up guys on the side. So you could see a couple of these guys that they brought in as pass rushers lined up like that too, in passing downs. But this guy, what year is Steven Souls? He's going to be a junior. 4.5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks. Again, played as a true freshman at an SEC program. 11 games as a rookie. Nice addition here. Again, you can read this more in depth at HawgSports, but I like Steven Souls. I like Kamori House a lot. I really like this kid. This guy, again, I think he could play several different positions. 6 foot, 215 pounds. I'm going to move this over here. Get my good side. 6 foot, 215, 2 years of eligibility, 81 tackles to lead North Carolina last year, 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack, PBU, 7 quarterback hurries, and a forced fumble. More of the weak side type of linebacker, can really cover, can play the run, can get after the quarterback. There's not a lot of linebackers that are better than this guy in the transfer portal. He is the 8th ranked transfer portal linebacker. I would probably agree with that based on what I've seen out of him. Again, Pro Football Focus, you got to mention, like we talked about the 86 guy a second ago. His grades are not outstanding, like mid 50s and 60s in the different categories. But yet he's a 4-star linebacker who led them in tackles, who was very coveted by other programs. So, just kind of take that for what it's worth. Take the rankings for what they're worth. Take the Pro Football Focus stuff for what they're worth. But I would, a lot of these, like, do your own kind of research, kind of like I did. I reach out to people, hey, what are you going to tell me about this guy? I need to know a little bit more. Shelton Lewis, I mentioned him a minute ago. He's the guy that redshirted himself. Has had some lower body injuries, but has played a lot of football for them. I mean, there's so many players it's hard to keep up with. I almost have. But he almost played 400 snaps for him, in the previous seasons. So played a lot of football for them. Started 2 games as a true freshman for a 9-4 Clemson team. Again, that's always notable to me when you see a guy that played right out of the gate. He was just a shade under 4-star status as a recruit. Another nice addition at cornerback. They've had several nice additions at cornerback. In fact, I think that they're probably done. I think they're at 9. Not done, but to me, 9 is kind of the minimum in a 90 scholarship situation, 9 minimum cornerbacks. I've always said, like, in the 85 scholarship age, you need about 18 defensive backs total, So getting about 9 corners is about right. Some of those guys can played nickel also. Yeah, but Shelton Lewis, a little bit older guy. I think he'll have 2 years of eligibility, though, since he redshirted himself this year. So should have a couple years left. The last guy I knew that Arkansas brought in who had, done that self-redshirt, I think was Josh Braun. So it's been a little bit since that's happened. Jamonte Waller, this dude has a chance, guys. So Waller, again, this is a guy that hurt his foot. Okay, he played as a true freshman at Auburn, hurt his foot, missed the spring when they had hired, new defensive coordinator, new position coach, all that stuff, and just kind of got lost in the shuffle because of that, focusing on the guys that had played and stuff. Again, one of those guys, Falk, is going to be a first or second round draft pick in April, and his younger brother, JJ, is also on that team, who's very good. And they've got another guy who's really good. So a lot of good players there. But this guy as a recruit was, we're talking about a top 100 type of player. 24/7 Sports Composite, number 95 prospect in the country in the class of 2024, number 8 edge, number 2 overall in Mississippi, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Penn State, you name it. A lot of teams after this guy. A lot of teams were very excited at the possibility of getting this guy. And I know Auburn was. I've talked to people over there about him too. So nice. Like that guy a lot. Nice pickup for Arkansas. Jaheim Johnson, Joker Johnson, 4-star cornerback. What do you have? 4 interceptions last year for Tulane, which was obviously very good. 6'2", 189, 42 tackles, 4 picks, 9 PBUs. This guy's, there's not much else to say about this guy, but he was very, very coveted. I was worried when he visited and did not commit and they let him get out of here. And I'm just like, if you get a guy like this on campus, why would you let him leave? Why would you let him go anywhere? Number 7 ranked cornerback prospect in the country in the transfer portal right now. Nice pickup, Joker Johnson. They were going to go after this guy named Smiley at cornerback, but they ended up canceling his visit. I think we can see why with some of the guys that they have added. Hunter Osborne. So Hunter Osborne was at Virginia last year, played a pretty significant role for them. Obviously, Virginia was really good. They went 11-3. He played behind a 6-year senior and 5th-year starter in Jameer Carter. 5 years that guy started for Virginia, and then a multi-year starter in Jason Hammond. So he was kind of the next guy up front for them in their rotation. But he'll have some eligibility left. He is what year is he? I think he's got a couple years left. So he's class of 2023. So he's got a couple of years left. He played at Alabama. He was the number 168 prospect in the country on 24/7 Sports coming out of high school. Clemson, Auburn, Texas, Tennessee, so on and so forth. And not just obviously it's big that he went to Alabama, but, a lot of times players will report offers, and you see this offer list like, wow, did he visit any of them? Well, he didn't visit any of them. And he ended up going to, some other school. He visited, schools don't just waste visits on guys that they don't want, but he visited Alabama, visited Clemson, visited Auburn, visited Texas, visited Tennessee on officials, because you only get a certain number of official visits, so schools don't just throw those out. But this is a big kid, 6'4", 300 plus, need bodies like that. And Arkansas has lacked on the defensive line. They've got some work to do still on the defensive line. But you pair this guy with Carlin Jones, who, again, another young guy that played. So Carlin Jones was, I'm going to bring up his recruiting profile if I can find it here. I'm so scattered. Let me see. Carlin Jones, I want to see his ranking. But this is how good USC's defensive line was last year. Come on. Carlin, not Carin. You know how many times I want to put Carlton and I only put Carin? No, damn it. Here we go. So USC brought in the number 1 defensive line transfer recruit in the country last year, and he did not start for them. They got another guy who was like the number 3 defensive lineman in the country, recruit out of high school, who didn't start for them. That just tells you what they had up front, But this guy was in the backup position, played for him. He was the number 216 overall prospect in the country coming out of high school on 24/7 Sports, the number 37 overall recruit out of the state of Texas. Visited Nebraska, Oklahoma State, TCU, obviously USC, UTSA. Old Jeff Traylor was trying to get some work done on him. Ohio State was another school that a lot of people thought was a good landing spot for him. He had a couple of crystal ball picks to Ohio State. So another, younger guy, class of 2024. He's just going to be a redshirt sophomore next year. His best football is in front of him. Big dude, 300-plus pounds, These are the kinds of guys that you want to see Arkansas getting. Yes, like you'd love to get guys that are veteran defensive linemen, and they're going to get some, and they've got a couple on campus, obviously, like Quincy Rose, for example. But getting guys that were very well regarded as recruits like this, whose best football is in front of them, and they're coming into that age. This guy's going to be he's going to be, a redshirt sophomore this year. Like he's getting to that age where he's like ready to really contribute on the defensive line. Nice. Good stuff there. Jasper Parker. I like Jasper Parker. I don't like where they have ranked him. I mean, this guy was the number 10 ranked running back prospect in the country coming out of high school last year, and now he's an 86 transfer portal ranking, number 60 running back. I don't understand that, but that's where they have him ranked, even though he played at Michigan last year, like did things for Michigan last year. Smooth runner. Do-it-all type of guy, got a nice stiff arm, got nice balance, looks very natural catching the football. There was a drive against, who was that against? I think Michigan State maybe. But there was a drive where it was 9 plays, 45 yards, ended in a Parker touchdown run. He ran the ball 9 straight times for 45 yards and scored a touchdown. So he was probably more like the third, probably more like the fourth running back option at Michigan this year. But again, this guy's offer list: Michigan, Florida State, Penn State, USC, Oregon, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee. Massive offer list. This is a guy that'll play for him this year. And I think they're done at running back. I think they can be done at running back now. They've got a lot of different guys, with a lot of different running styles, body types. I think they're in good shape at running back, So effortless looking. That's what kind of jumped out to me. It just looks like he just kind of glides, I like that in a running back. I always say, running back is an easy position to evaluate, but things that get overlooked, like we like jukes and spin moves and all this stuff. I like guys who don't do much at all and people bounce off of them. Like somebody takes a shot at their hip and they just bounce off. Like that to me is a really good sign for a running back. Balance, power, all that kind of stuff. You watch film of a guy and he's running and players just bouncing off him and he's not doing a bunch of stuff. That's what I like. No moves. There's a Carius Kern reaction to Ole Miss story. Everybody was freaking the hell out over that. We'll talk about the offensive tackle from OBU also here in a minute. Sutton Smith is one of the reasons also that I think that they can be done at running back. This is more of he's a better scat back than they've had recently. Sutton Smith, 5'9", 185. A little more muscled up than I think you would think at that weight, but he went for, he had an 84-yard run, so he's got breakaway speed, obviously, against ECU. That's what I always say is important. Like, if you're not going to be a big back, you need to have breakaway. It's not okay just to be kind of fast. You need to be flying fast, and he's got really good speed. Against Arkansas, he had, this may not be saying much, 12 carries for 147 yards. So not a bell cow type of back, but a guy that, like, for Memphis, it's like 10, 12 carries a game. Finished 2025 with 102 carries for 669 yards and 7 touchdowns to lead the team. So had an ACL in 2024 and came back and had his best season. So it's a good sign. Okay, that's A.J. Hill. So A.J. Hill is a big dude, 6'4" and every bit of it, 215, and has got a really big arm. He went 19 of 32 for 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception last season. He runs better. Like I was watching his high school highlight video, and like, is he gonna ever run? Because he just kind of sits there and just flings it. There's a lot of good footage out there of him. His high school footage. There's some footage of him in Memphis that you can see if you search online. There's some really good footage of him at the Navy All-America Bowl game, going through practices and stuff, throwing against D-backs, and you can get a good look at him there. But A.J. Hill was – I don't understand on A.J. how he ended up at Memphis. He's from Warner Robins, Georgia, very highly regarded as a recruit. We're talking number 147 ranked overall prospect in the country, number 11 quarterback, number 18 in Georgia, and had, Alabama, Florida, all the schools that were after him, and ended up at Memphis. Arkansas also offered him and ended up at Memphis. So, a little surprising. Let me tell you about Ozarks Go, people. 479-68 4900. Had to bring that up so I could see. ozarksgo.net/hog. Fast, reliable, consistent internet service. ozarksgo.net/hog. Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, ever expanding. Local company. That's important. Local company who knows the area. So when you call them, you're going to talk to somebody from around here who can tell you like, oh yeah, we're available in that area. I know that area very well. So that's important. Local companies and just consistency, man. Like, it always works. Like, what can you say better than it always works? And they're not going to jack up your rate, from year 1 to year 2. You're going to pay the same next year as you paid this year. I can't say enough good things about Ozarks Go. It just consistently works. Like, what else are you looking for with your internet service? Several different tiers. Gigabit plus is what I use. I think gigabit's probably good for most people. That's 1,000 megabits per second. You'd be humming if you get that service. So check them out, ozarksgo.net/684-4900, area code 479-9er. Okay. We talked to A.J. Hill. Jaquavian Smith, I don't know a lot about this guy. He's out of Howard. Jaquavian Smith, 6'1", 227, 49 tackles, 11 TFLs, 4.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Nose for the football. That's what Kevin Bohannon says. So I actually didn't do the rapid reaction for this one. This one was Kevin Bohannon and Danny West. Seems like a good addition. I just don't know a whole lot about Jaquavian. Obviously played at Howard. And where else? Jamari Hawkins, nice addition at wide receiver. We like Jamari Hawkins. Again, not a huge guy, but 5'9", 185. I like bringing – so, like, they didn't bring a bunch of guys from Memphis with them. They brought 4 guys. They brought their best receiver, their best running back, their best young promising quarterback, their best offensive lineman, who we'll talk about in a second. 38 catches, 623 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Again, not a shock the world type of addition, but a guy that knows the system very well. And I think that's important to bring into the locker room. And obviously, you got to trust the coaches to bring the best players from the place they were. And again, it's not like they're bringing 20 players from Memphis. They're bringing 4 players from Memphis. Malachi Breland, 6'5", 340. I like that. We talked about him a little bit on the show the other day. Again, I like a big guy who has played as a freshman for them. A lot of starts under his belt. I think he slides into that left guard spot. They still got some work to do on the offensive line. I think we talked about most of the other guys. Braden McAllister, at kicker. Christian Harrison. I really like Christian Harrison. I think he's just a do-it-all type of addition in the secondary. Can play just about everywhere. The Cincinnati guy that I talked to was really high on him. And obviously they brought in a couple of kickers. And who else have we not covered? Let's see. We talked about Braden Lee and Jackson, I think, right? Phoenix Jackson, Braden Lee, Tyler Scott. I think we talked about all these. Yeah. Okay. So did we go over the numbers really, like what they needed each position? I don't think that we did. So I'm going to do that real quick. I watched the game last night at a guy I know is opening up a back nine. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like a deal with golf simulators, all the latest tracking software, all that kind of stuff. But we had the game on one of those hitting bays, and then he had a hitting bay over here and there's 4 hitting bays in that place. It's not open yet, but it's going to open. It's really nice. Like, I played St. Andrews. We had an 8-foot gimme putt deal. I'm not going to say what I shot because my friend Bo will get mad at me he listens to every show. Thanks, Bo. Appreciate you. But he says I'm not supposed to be a braggart, but I don't think I would have shot what I shot at the old course in real life. But we had a lot of fun watching the game, playing golf. But that's going to open, I think, like next week, Back Nine Golf in Fayetteville. So they do memberships and stuff, so be on the lookout for that release. I want to tell you about our friends over at Walker Brothers real quick, if you don't mind. I don't have anything on from Walker Brothers. This is just an old t-shirt because it's been a little bit crazy, but Walker Brothers does bring you the finest men's clothing from around the world, carefully selected to last, fit right, and help you look your best. From game day essentials to distinguished luxury wear, from a meticulously fitted suit to the perfectly faded pair of jeans, every piece in their collection is hand-selected for enduring quality and iconic style. Experience that undeniable confidence that comes with perfecting your personal style. Visit them at 577 Millsap Road, Suite number 6, or their brand new location, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers. The Fayetteville location is great. I go there most of the times. I've been to the Rogers location a couple of times now. The Rogers location feels like you're walking into some kind of club or something. It really does. Like, they got the couches, the TV set up, where you get fitted for your suits, all the nice clothes. I mean, it's pretty swanky. There's not a lot of places, I'll just say that. There's just not a lot of places that take care of you from a men's clothing standpoint in Arkansas and give you just really high quality, nice, like not just clothes, like, yeah, some of the stuff is, some of the stuff's really good price. Some of the stuff's more expensive. I've got stuff that I've bought there that I've had in my closet for years and years and years versus, you go to Old Navy and something, you get a shirt, you're like, oh, this looks pretty good. And the next time you wash it and it's just like all, it's done. It looks like crap after that. They got some really, really nice quality stuff there. So yeah, you might spend some more money on some items, but it's going to last you and it's going to be iconic looking, stuff that lasts from style standpoint and just durability and quality. That's what I would take away from our friends at Walker Brothers. Okay, so I want to go over real quick scholarship distribution because I touched on that. What do they need at each spot? So quarterback, only 2 quarterbacks right now. That's a problem. I like the idea of those 2 guys battling it out. I think that could be really intriguing. Now they got the junior college quarterback coming in, who I like a lot too, Guerrera. I forgot his first name, but what he reminds me of is he's like twitchy, the kind of guy that throws it and spins around, kind of, like he's got a little swag to him. I like the way he moves around. So, but I think he's a guy that you can bring in. And who knows, like, again, Trinidad Chambliss, nobody was expecting him to be more of a gadget quarterback, but I think he's a guy you could bring in, get a look at, see if he kind of fits on this level or not. You've got 2 guys that are very well regarded, 4-star recruits. It gives me a little pause because, as I've said, you're putting so much money into everything. If you don't have a quarterback, it almost doesn't matter. You've got to have a quarterback, and maybe one of these guys will end up being really good. It's not like every quarterback that everybody gets out there is like this proven stud from the transfer portal. Like, a lot of them are, obviously, but they've got to originate somewhere, right? They've got to have their first start somewhere. So these guys have a lot of physical ability. They've got all the tools that you want in a quarterback, but you just never know until the lights come on. And so that's a little bit of a concern to me because you don't have a winner at quarterback. I don't know if that guy's out there in this portal class for Arkansas. Sure, there's Sam Levitt out there. They're not in the mix for Sam Levitt, even Hauser, the ECU guy, like, was fine. I wasn't just like, oh, I got to get this guy, like, I just don't know if he's out there. So get some good quarterbacks at this point. It's a little scary in that regard. That's the area that I'm just like, you got to be a little hopeful. Like, you feel good about what they've done in a lot of positions, but AJ Hill's very highly regarded. KJ Jackson was a 4-star. We've seen KJ Jackson, at least some out there, running back. I think they can be done at running back if they want to, maybe add a guy, but I think that they've got a good base right here. Braylon Russell, Terry Hodges, the freshman, Cameron Settles, who they seem very high on. I haven't heard on Markalen Batten if he's coming back for sure, but he hasn't said anything, so I assume he is. And then you got Sutton Smith and Jasper Parker. So a good mix of player there, I think. Wide receiver, they have 11, which maybe 12 would be the number, I guess, in the 90 scholarship age. I wouldn't mind seeing them add one more like guy you go like, man, this is a guy with a lot of upside, or a guy that's really proven, But Jalen Brown, CJ Brown, Ismail Cece, Courtney Crutchfield, Jacaden Ferguson, Monte Harrison, those are all good wide receivers. Antonio Jordan would be a guy that you would consider with a lot of upside. Those are all good wide receivers. Are any of them game breakers? Maybe Jalen Brown emerges into that. We saw some of him last year. He got hurt, obviously. We remember the fumble against Ole Miss. It was very unfortunate. Antonio Jordan, Courtney Crutchfield, guys that maybe have that upside. Tight end, you've got Matt Adcock, Gavin Garrettson, Maddox Lassiter, and Jaden Platt, and possibly Andreas Poshka. I would say one more tight end. I think Memphis carried about 6 or 7 tight ends. I don't know if those are all scholarship guys or not, but I would say one more tight end. Feel safe about that. Offensive line, they've got some work to do. They need at least 4 more offensive linemen. Well, they got to the high school guys, so at least 3. But really, I would say I would like to see them have 17 offensive linemen if they're doing 90 scholarships. I think 17 would be a good number, but at least 15 offensive linemen, I think, right now. But this puts them at 12 offensive linemen. I need to see, like, maybe Paul Mobenja would be a nice one. I can almost put together a starting lineup with this group, but I can't quite. I still am concerned about left tackle. Maybe that's Kavian Broussard. Who knows? But I can come close to putting together a starting offensive line, but I also want to see some more depth. I want to see some more quality of depth with this group. Some more battles, some more guys that you look at for the future, that kind of stuff. Danny Beal and Anthony Kennedy coming in from the high school ranks. I could see like a Kennedy or Beal play. I could see Beal potentially playing. I wouldn't mind seeing one more real big-bodied guy, play that nose position. They're pretty close on the defensive line. I would say one more big body guy and one more end. Like, a 280 type, 275, 280 type of guy, 3-4 type of defensive end. I think that's what I would like to see them do, to go behind Quincy. They're just a little bit young with some of those guys like Reginald Vaughn, Keandre Johnson, Caleb Bell, those types of guys. So maybe one more. I think they're good at Jack. I think they've got a good number of guys that can play that position. Although I don't know if Trent Sellers is a guy that's gotten bigger. He's 260 coming out of high school. A lot of times those guys get, grow to a bigger size. He might be more of a 3-4 end versus a Jack now. But Charlie Collins coming back was really nice for them. They got Jamonte Waller, Steven Souls. I think they're probably in pretty good shape numbers-wise at Jack. I think they're probably okay there. You could always work some linebackers there, if you need to. Linebacker, at least one more linebacker. They've done some good work. Jaquavian Smith, Kamori House, Phoenix Jackson. At least one more inside linebacker to this group. They got Ja'Cory Smith, who's coming in from the high school ranks. Bradley Shaw, Wyatt Simmons. I haven't said anything, but Wyatt Simmons is coming back for sure. I'm pretty sure Bradley Shaw is. But one more, I think, linebacker. Cornerback, I think the numbers are where they need to be now. I think they're good. I think they're good there. Safety, I would like to see them add several safeties, at least 3 and maybe 4. But they need some more work at safety. They've got Christian Harrison coming in, who I think will probably end up playing nickel. They got some work to do here at safety. Special teams, I think they're good. That's where it is. 55 minutes of me just talking. I can feel it. All right, let's get to some questions. We taking care of everybody? I believe so. Walker Brothers, Blakeman's, Crain, Bet Saracen, Ozarks Go. That's all of them. Okay. I'm going to go through these questions pretty quick. If I can bring them up. I appreciate all you guys, by the way. I mean, it's been fun for us to cover all this stuff, and it's nice to have like some stuff and then like working your butt off and then like actually seeing some positive results, like all the work that we put into, the coaching search and the season, and it's just ebbs and flows and stuff. But it's nice to see a little bit of a train of success. I do have a note here that Andreas Poshka is done, so we can remove him. So that's breaking news, I guess. But Poshka won't be back with Arkansas. And I guess he is retiring from football. So that's going to put them back down to 75 and probably need to get at least one more tight end also. So appreciate you for that note. Ben Hogger says where the tackle's at. They got Halls. We didn't talk about Halls. I haven't really looked at him yet, the Oregon State transfer, but he would be one of them, but still need some work there. Mickey Hollerhog says, good to meet you the other day. Good to meet you too. Based on the current commitments, which position group? So in the pregame stuff, I've got those like concert earbuds, that like they don't muffle the sound. They just take the volume down. They do a really good job of like letting you hear the music and stuff, so you don't like damage your ears. And pregame, a lot of time I'll put those in and get some work done. And I like to, enjoy the game, but sometimes people will come up to me and I'll think like, do I know this person? And I have really bad, like fat face blindness if somebody's wearing a hat and I haven't seen them in a hat before or something like that. But anyway, Mickey comes up to me and introduces himself and I'm like, hey, good to see you. Like I would lean on my wife a lot of times, like, do I know that? It's embarrassing sometimes how I mess up stuff like that. But anyway, and then I heard him talking to Connor, who was in front of me, and I was like, oh, that's Mickey Holler. So good to see you, bud. Which group are you most excited about to watch in spring practice? I'm really interested to see the quarterback competition, KJ and AJ, and whoever else they bring in there, first of all. After that, I like the secondary, the linebackers. Man, I mean, there's so many new people, but I want to see the battle, the competition in the secondaries, particularly the corner spots. And I mean, I want to see how good the running backs are. That's a hard question to ask, but like one of the things I've been real intrigued with are the quarterbacks because they're both very highly regarded. They both have got a lot of tools and a lot of potential. Who wins out there. But here's the thing with quarterback guys. We talk about this all the time. You just don't know until they're under the lights or until they get their shot. Austin Simmons went into the season as the unquestioned starter for Ole Miss, unquestioned. And what happened when he got hurt? Trinidad Chambliss, who was viewed kind of as a gadget quarterback, just come in and help them here and there when they need to run and stuff. And he ends up being a freaking stud for him. I mean, everybody would take a Trinidad Chambliss, and everybody, this time last year be going, I don't want that guy from Ferris State. Who is that? So it's going to be difficult because we're going to see what they do in practice, but it doesn't always mean that they're the best option when the lights come on. We just know that they have a lot of tools. Burgess Maximus says, Trey, any idea how many interior DL they are targeting in the portal? I'm thinking we need a couple more at least. I think so too. I kind of talked about that. Like to see him get a defensive nose. Like to see him get another end, 3-4 type of end. Hogwild 816 says last year we were excited about what they did on defense and then crap the bed. I mean, I don't think we were quite as like blown away. We were concerned about the defensive line. We knew that they had put a lot of money into the secondary. And there was some intrigue there, I think, but I don't think we were just blown away. We just knew that they'd put a lot of money in there. It's not like they did a lot of good stuff at linebacker. They did not get it. They did not do well at the defensive line, and we knew that going in. That was a concern for us. We even talked about that a lot. Like, even if Taylor Green does a good job, can they get him on the field in the fourth quarter if they need to get the ball back to him, because you could just run up this defensive line. So my dog is going crazy right now, and I've got 2 doors shut between me and that dog. We're good, buddy. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Last year, yeah. Okay, so it seems that we're excited about what they're doing on defense. Help us, Wounded Hogs. Hold on one second. Jerry, chill, buddy. Chill. What are you doing? Sorry about that. I could not concentrate. He was going crazy. There's a deer or something in our backyard. We've had a lot of deer. Like, people drive by and send me pictures of my house and be like, "There's 6 deer in your front yard." There's a big old fox down by our house the other day, like the biggest fox I think I've ever seen. So we got some wildlife coming out. Okay. It seems like we're excited about what they're doing on defense this year. Help us, Wounded Hog. Yeah, I don't blame. I've said this before, guys. I don't blame anybody for being skeptical or feeling, or like, looking at what's the opposite of the silver lining, or just feeling like it rains every day. Like, I don't blame anybody for feeling like that. I've chosen to be a little bit more positive and benefit of the doubt style. I still, even though I say that, I'm not even expecting them to have a winning record next year in football. But I'm encouraged with the organization and the work that they've done so far. So, yes, battered hog syndrome. What do you see different about this year's crop? I see just a lot more proven guys, and I see, people that I talk to about these players that they're getting from outside have been generally very positive responses from them. So that kind of stuff. And I feel like they're developing better depth. Like, they're just not getting just like a bunch of guys that are, they're getting guys that like played at other major college schools. The defense was just terrible last year, but they did a good job, guys. Like, we can talk about the defense. The offense did a pretty good job bringing in the guys that they brought in, Mike Washington and Corey Robinson, Caden Kittler. I mean, they didn't do good on offense. Jaden Platt, Rohan Jones. That wasn't good. Jalen Brown, Omega Blake, Raylan Sharp. Right. They just did a crap job on defense. Just didn't evaluate very well. Pleased with what we've done in the transfer portal. I say we need 5 to 6 more O-line. I would agree. How many more OL are you expecting Arkansas to try sign? I would think at least 4 more. But it's important to get one of those guys, or 2 of them are studs. One of those guys really need to be a stud. Based on what you heard, do you think Terrence Robinson could start next year? Pretty incredible how fast he blew up. So, for those of you who don't know about Terrence Robinson, we talked about him yesterday. We found out that he was on campus, and, just through talking to sources and stuff, like, that he had just absolutely blown up. So Robertson, excuse me. I know that, like, he played in the band at Warren. He was, I'm going to mess this up, Salutatorian, is that how you say it? The second behind the valedictorian. He's a computer guy, like, didn't play a whole lot of football. I think Bo Embry said on his commitment deal when he went to OBU that he played in, like, I think he maybe just started in 10th grade, played in 7th grade, and then started in 10th grade or something. I don't know, but something about him not playing a lot of football or only playing in 5 games his senior year. I don't know if all that's accurate. It's just people I've talked to behind the scenes saying it, and some of it kind of conflicts with each other. Because one person's like he didn't start playing until he was a senior in high school, and that doesn't appear to be true. But anyway, OBU apparently came and saw him and like, hey, we'll take him. And then like sat out basically last year, redshirted, basically learning football, weight room, all that kind of stuff, and then just destroyed people last year, starting in 2025, and hit the transfer portal, put his video out, and the next thing you know, it's Arkansas State, I think, was the first one on him, and then Tennessee and LSU and Vanderbilt, and Kentucky and Arkansas. I hear he wants to go to Arkansas. We'll see how it shakes out, but I know there is one college coach out there, an offensive line coach in the SEC, who basically has said like he would come in and rotate for us. He would be a rotational guy for us next year. He would start for us the next year, and then he'd be gone to the NFL. Like, that's how people are talking about this kid behind the scenes. Like, he's going to be that good. They love his feet. They love his size. They love his everything. They are blown away with this guy. So, cool to see a story like that. Pat Posh Jake says, haven't heard anyone from the mainstream media comment on this portal class. I haven't either. And I don't think that they would, because Arkansas was 2-10 last year. If Arkansas was better, then they're going to talk about it more. So it's just kind of what we get. We don't throw a fit. Dr. Scotty Mack says, did we make a huge mistake getting rid of Mateos? Well, there are Eric Mateos isn't the only good offensive line coach, but I think Eric Mateos is a really good offensive line coach. But that doesn't mean he's the only good offensive line coach. Yeah. So it's a huge mistake if they don't replace him with a really good offensive line coach if these guys aren't really good. So, Whiskey Drunk, do we have any money left over for offense? Also, when are you going to have a chance to interview Geiska Crowley? I hope I get to interview him soon enough. That would be nice. But after all this madness, I mean, these guys these guys should take a vacation after all this. And Danny's got to get away after this. I mean, we're halfway through this. We're halfway through. But I would like to talk. I would like to have a chance, at least me or Danny, to talk to Geiska. Or any of the personnel guys. I mean, they're all doing this together. They're all working together. Simo Hog 12 says, are we going to get a proven quarterback to commit with KJ? I think I talked about that pretty much, Simo. I hope you heard that answer. Pittsburgh Squealer says, T. Schnitzel, who is your pick to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't know who would be my pick right now. I don't know. Maybe I had to think about that. I don't have a pick off the top of my head. Sorry. Kendall Byers says, if they would put the main broadcast play-by-play and color guy on the Skycam channel, that would be the greatest way to watch football. I would enjoy that. I guess you could put it on one TV and Skycam it the other way, or you could do your split screen deal, and put the audio on that. Then you could watch both. That might be a thing, Kendall. Maybe we'll do that. Young Sea Lion says, what do you think a successful season looks like next year? I'm not really expecting anything crazy, but just less than 5 wins seems bad. It's a tough schedule. And it's going to be very difficult to say without knowing what they've got at quarterback. I can say right now, and there's still a ton to add, they may end up getting a great left tackle. Who knows what might happen, but I don't know. I'm not going in expecting a bowl game. I'll say that. And I've said before, I don't judge coaches so much on that first year. But it's such a different era. It's better now with the way the schedule and everything. It's not like the old days when, Nick Saban was going to Alabama or Bobby Petrino was coming to Arkansas and was like, we're going to play all these young players and get them built up for the future. It's not like that anymore because you can just go add players. I think it's just about getting the system instilled, getting everybody on the same page. We've seen teams have success year one. I think it's a great indicator if you come in and just have success right out of the gate, obviously. But it's also the schedule that they have is not the schedule that Kurt Signetti had in year one at Indiana either. It's a lot more challenging. The Great White 50 says, first question, how does the extreme time playoff team players get to the portal effect on going to school where the classes start before they enter? I've thought about that a lot because those guys will be able to enter the portal, but they're not going to be able to enroll. Second is I signed up to Choose Arkansas today. Seems like it's a good collective. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I saw some people have kind of a weird reaction to it, but like it's a separate collective outside of what Arkansas is doing with the Link U within Arkansas. It's outside. Like collectives are supposed to be inside the school if they're like just for to do the school. So Choose Arkansas, I think to stay compliant, they have to support all schools and colleges. So they do everybody. So it's just a little bit different setup, but I think more options is good for people. More options to give is a good thing. And I think it's a couple people trying to do good things for Arkansas. So I'm in support of that. ArcHog 501 says, according to your scholarship breakdown, we have shortcomings in a number of areas: quarterback, offensive tackle, defensive end, safety, nose tackle, corners, all critical areas. Do you feel like there are adequate players to fill those needs? I think they're good at corner. I like what they've done at cornerback. I want to see a nose tackle. I want to see an end. They need some help at safety still. I would like that Malcolm Hartzog guy at Nebraska. That would be a nice addition, I think, if they could get him. He's a 4-year starter for them. Well, he was hurt. I think he had like a game-winning interception against Cincinnati. That's what happened. And in week 1, and then hurt his groin, had to have surgery, so he ended up getting the year back. But started 3 years before that. Yeah, but I would agree with you. Offensive tackle, they need at least one stud OT, at least one, and then some more guys. Razorback from KC says, how do you feel about the strategy to go with more unproven, cheaper quarterbacks? Not that they were cheap. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands, but and use that money to get higher quality players at other positions. Seems like a high risk reward strategy. Auburn had the talent, all the talent in the world, but never could get a quarterback right. I think those quarterbacks also, like you had the idea like, hey, you win the starting job, there's this bonus money for you. I like bonus structures, not so much like this is what you get for production, but like if you move up our depth chart, if you end up starting for us, we're signing you as a third team guy, you're getting $100,000. But if you move up our depth chart, we got this for you. If you can start, I like that kind of structure. I think that would be, you leave yourself some wiggle room to where, you have enough money to fill those slots, and you do fill those because you're going to have guys start for you, and move up the depth chart. Auburn had all the talent in the world, but never could get a quarterback right. Quarterback matters. I mean, Jackson Arnold, Hugh Freeze should not have said what he said about Jackson Arnold, but he wasn't wrong. Garrett Nussmeier, his play, one reason Brian Kelly got fired. Like, you have to have a quarterback. You just do. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have that guy, you're not going to win. And all the guys all the teams that are in the college football playoff now, guess what they got? All the teams that started in the college football playoff, guess what they had? Guess what they had? I'm starting to get to where I can't really talk very well. It's starting to get to my voice. Like when your cheeks get cold, you can't talk. Boar says, with the pro draft basketball players coming back in college, do you see anyone coming back in college football this season? I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. Jay Wilson's 1979. Sorry not to give you a good answer. I'm just getting, as of today at noon, how much is left out of NIL budget by your estimation? Let's see. 10 million. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. I really appreciate everybody following along at HawgSports. I hope everybody appreciates what we're doing, not just because I hope you appreciate it. Somebody asked, mentioned the way we're doing things and, the content that we're producing, the information. the analysis and stuff that we're doing, and was grateful for it. And I was just like, you know what? Our goal is the golden rule of coverage. I would want somebody to cover it the way that we're covering. Like, that's how I want it to do. Like, I want it to be covered. I want to cover it the way I would want it to be covered for me. The golden rule of coverage. If I was a Razorback fan, which I am. I'm just on the other side of it. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate you for hopping on with us. Thanks to everybody for your questions. This will be the last show until Monday. Lord knows what's going to happen by then. But go to HawgSports. Like, if you really want to follow this thing in an organized way, knowing what's happening, know what's coming on in visits and stuff, you need to be at HawgSports, where it's 50% off, HawgSports.com. Sign up today. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.